Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I want you to imagine a firehouse in like a super sleepy town that hasn't had a fire in a long time. At about 11 o'clock last night, that was this show with firefighters who weren't expecting a fire running in every direction, where Cortez is running off to WEEI to see if he can call. Taylor's running off to make a parade of gas bags. Video, have you had time to put up on the screen, please, the exclusive footage we have of Boston fans leaving their arena early? They lost their 4 or 5 times all year. One of the most the most overwhelming offensive efficiency in the history of the league. For all the talk of Miami's perfect game and perfect shooting, holding Boston in the second half to 40 points, that offense, and making those people go home early when they have the highest of expectations for that basketball team. And we got yesterday what I think none of us was expecting, which is, that feeling from last year. That delightful feeling from last year where they can make it a series. And at the very least, what you get from last night is the glorious thing you didn't think you were going to get is the next 2 days, Boston fans have to sit in, wait a minute. Am I worried about this? And worse than that, Tatum has to look at Porzingis and be like, are you okay with us going through you during the playoffs when all of the mismatches are going to be you and you can have the turnaround jumpers if you want them, and maybe not all 7'3" guys can pass like Jokic can. And what they did by game plan to Boston yesterday requires them to play a perfect game. Perfect shooting, best they've ever had. I shouldn't say perfect because they turned the ball over a lot in the first half, but they were 13 for 24 on threes in the first half and were down by 3. I don't feel like anybody is going to talk about the defense in that second half and how it is you choke out. After Brown hits the three-pointers and does the heat check thing, and I'm going to keep shooting because I'm Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to go into the second half with, Miami, we're not afraid of you. You just had your best first half we've seen in the playoffs shooting, the best total game we've seen shooting from the Heat in the playoffs ever, probably, I would say. Like, it's not just making more threes. Everything that they were shooting from every guy who was shooting, except for Duncan Robinson, everything was going in. That's how you have to beat that team. I don't believe they could do that 4 times in 7 games, but you've put that doubt there for everybody. Now everybody is thinking something. I don't know if the Celtics are thinking it, but everyone is thinking something they were not thinking 4 quarters ago.
The thing that was crazy about those threes, Dan, is they created 23 wide open threes, according to the stat tracking data. So this wasn't just making threes that were contested and it being fluky. It was an offensive execution to be able to get everyone wide open. And that had to do with Bam setting screens on offense, creating more room for Tyler Hero to operate. It was a perfectly executed game from those 2 players who have been doubted by a lot of people on a lot of different shows, including this one.
Jeremy, you are not allowed to take a victory lap considering you are part of the parade of gas bags
no.
today.
It's bullshit.
Oh, no. Let's hear it. It's hard to see how the Miami Heat are going to win a game in that series.
They're a joke right now. Everyone fans laughing at them.
This team is not going to, more likely than not, even pull off one game against the Boston Celtics this year.
Tyler Hero, not good. Not a fan. Bye. Just bye.
It's not a code red, because if you take out Jason Tatum, the Celtics are still sweeping the Heat. So slow down, Scalabrine.
Yeah, give up Ruiz up out of here. They down 0-1. They about to go down 0-2 tonight, and your season going to be over in the next 4 days.
They need to dynamite the Heat.
Please, just the core. Toss it out.
There
I'm
we go
done.
again. He's been doing that for 2 years.
Wow. They have a home
Done
game in
talking
2
about
nights.
is Bam gonna find the guts. I'm done talking about it.
I mean, the Miami Heat could go 100% from the field, 100% from the three, and they're still going to get swept in this series. They just don't have the personnel to match up with the Boston Celtics. That's it.
I talked to a person that's high-ranking in the NBA who would know stuff about player evaluation, who said he would take 13 centers over Bam.
Wake the hell up, Heat fans!
Okay,
You're so far gone from being a contender right now. You are an afterthought.
They do not want to face Boston in the first round and be their first victim. They will probably get swept. I'm going to say that right now if they face them in the first round.
Most people do not believe the Heat will win a single game.
Because this roster is simply not good enough, and it's not good enough by a mile. That set a tone. I think I'm the most right
You're insane.
in that group.
You
What,
are
we really-
insane.
Look,
Did you watch basketball last night?
I watched it, and I'm very happy Miami won. I don't like Boston. I like the Heat. No one,
Well, clearly
and
you
I
don't.
mean no one, sweeps the Miami Heat. It's not a thing that happens to this franchise. So I'm also a little disappointed because look at us. You know, we used to reserve these things for finals runs. Now you're like the 1-4-1.
Old man yelling at clouds is what you're doing.
We didn't get swept.
We didn't get swept. They left early. Like it's a little. If you ask me, a little sad.
It
but
is sad. I thought the same thing.
As part of our scramble this morning, unsuccessful part, I asked for them to find me a banner that read, "We didn't get swept."
That might have been the 1-4-1, but okay. All right. Cool.
I just don't see how you can watch that game and not be apologetic for the way that you've talked about Bam Adebayo and even Tyler Hero for that matter, who now in back-to-back huge games for the Heat, the one that would have eliminated them from the postseason entirely and the one that would have put their backs up against the wall, stepped up and had two of the best games of his entire career as a playmaker.
I'm not going in circles with you guys on Bam.
Because you're wrong.
He's a fine player, and if you want to regurgitate the spoon-fed bullshit from the Miami Heat that says he's a key to the defense.
Insane.
And
Did you
don't wanna-
watch the game?
Yeah, I watched the game. I'm not saying he's not a good defender. They look, the Miami Heat have acknowledged that I am right every offseason when they've tried to acquire a star that is better than Jimmy Butler and have failed. All right? Bam Adebayo is the one piece that they haven't actually looked to relinquish. They keep wondering, why are our offers not good enough? It's because you haven't included Bam Adebayo. So if you have faith in this organization to push through and remain a contender, if you have faith in the coaching staff, I'd say I'd probably have a little faith in them potentially replacing Bam Adebayo if they had to. But I am super happy that they beat Boston. I'm super happy that the Boston Celtics fans have to wear that for 2 days. But also, this feels sad to me.
Today does not. I will not allow you to make today.
Unbelievable.
I will not allow you to make today sad because I don't disagree with you, and I don't think anyone disagrees with you. Before last night's game, there was exactly no one saying that the Miami Heat will win that series. Juju?
I'm sorry. If you guys listen to the Alley Oop podcast that be on every now and then whenever we feel like doing it, I called this the whole time. I bet last night that the Heat would win. I won $500 last night on the money line Heat win. If you listen to the Alley Oop wherever you are, if you tired of these gas bags, I'm a Celtics fan, but I'm a realist. I said all year, what happens when the damn shots don't fall, tall
That's
man?
it.
What happens when the shots don't fall, Mr. Slick Hair Man? What happens when the shot don't fall, no left hand? So back to you, Dan. But some people are here prophets.
Juju, I have been watching what you've been doing post game, and what I will continue to say, as no insult to you, because yes, there are many people who love Boston who have the post-traumatic stress disorder of still having some fear in them. Although you've heard Simmons and Schur sound a lot more sure than they usually do about this Celtics team. I don't dispute that you have warned and doubted these Celtics about the Miami Heat can beat them in a game. But I've heard no one say that the Miami Heat will win that series. I've heard no one in a credible mainstream position go out on the limb and be alone with Boston will lose this series. I have felt that it is very strange to watch any series of any kind where the consensus is this complete so that in game 2 of a playoff series, you could be legitimately stunned when a home team loses. The Miami Heat are one of the best road teams in the sport. They were 24-17. It's as good as OKC, as good as Denver on the road. They are excellent on the road. They're not afraid of that team. They've kicked the ass of that uniform a great deal over the last couple of years. Let me give you some of the stats because this is from Cooper Moorhead. The Miami Heat have 4 playoff games in the past 2 seasons where they've shot 50% from 3. No other team has more than one against anybody.
He's bought and paid for.
That's
quite literally. He's an employee. What do you want me to do?
But that's also a fact.
It's just a statistic.
That's a fact, though. That's also a fact.
I'll do my own research.
Okay, very good.
Bought and paid for is better than buying to get information. That's all I'm saying.
Boston doesn't play close games.
Kiss my ass. Wow.
If you want to say that you can't break something down because you're a part of a broadcast or because you're part of an organization working for NBA.com, I just don't understand how that's the analysis
Jeremy,
that you can go
I'm just doing a thing. Let's move on.
Look, the thing that happened last night was with all the bluster and all of the praise that the Celtics received over the weekend and after that Game 1 win, it's basically like they started this game up already 20 points. And you see what the Celtics do when they're up 20 points. They will let your ass right back in the game.
Dan's being a mouthpiece. Can we get back to the stats? Is that all of them? If I'm a Celtics fan, I am concerned because the blueprint's out there now, and you need the guy that's watching the town every day to come up with adjustments. And it's very clear. All the Miami Heat need to do 3 more times is set a new franchise record from shooting from downtown.
Well, this is what I will tell you that I was watching last night that I will not get used to no matter how much the sport changes. The idea that in playoff basketball, you would allow the Boston Celtics to do what they want around the rim, easy layups, it's just not something I'm used to. And now the move is going to be for Boston. What Juju is saying, what happens when the shots don't fall? Miami was basically saying to Boston, no more threes. That's not how you're going to play where you're shooting 66% of your shots are threes. 66% of our shots are going to be the threes. And the thing that I was stunned by most last night was not that Miami won, though that was stunning enough. It's that Boston was forced to play a game by another team, a lesser team, an 8 seed without their best player that Boston didn't want to play, which was allowing them easy layups at their rim where Jaylen Brown and Tatum could take off the dribble, Hero and Duncan, and then what they were doing to me was super interesting with Porzingis, which was, you haven't been here. Go ahead and see how those little turnaround jumpers in the key work when you've got the mismatch. We're showing you. Yeah, Tyler Hero's on you. That's Jaquez on you. You've got 7 inches on those dudes. You want to turn around and take little turnaround jumpers? Go ahead, Porzingis. Let's see all those Washington games and Knicks games you've played before that aren't this game. You're the 3rd biggest piece, and you've been a perfect fit there as the 3rd biggest piece. But what happens when Tatum's quiet in the 4th quarter? What's happening when Brown is quiet in the second half after that first half? Oh, it's going to be Porzingis and White, is it? Okay. Let's see what you got with Porzingis and White.
There really is something to this Jason Tatum thing, and that was just like a fan opinion in playing against the Boston Celtics in several series. He has these crucial stretches where he goes missing. And then we saw Tom Haberstroh did a quantifiable study on it's actually a real thing. And he is a superstar. He is the first face that you see in the NBA playoffs promo for ESPN. And he just has these strange moments. He idolizes Kobe. And I will say, Kobe never went missing. Like, Kobe may have had bad performance, inefficient performances, but he asserted himself. If that is who you look up to, you got to assert yourself. They got rid of the Marcus Smarts of the world. You're the guy. Be the guy. Even if you don't have it that night, just have the confidence to let your team know that they can still come to you. His body language is terrible. He's rolling his eyes like a child. He needs to find the dog.
Stan Van Gundy accused him of losing his composure and getting frustrated. Stan Van Gundy was hitting the note of this team doesn't know what close games are like. This team does not know what this Heat feels like when it's close this year.
Jason Tatum's a pretty good asset. Should they trade him?
Oh,
No?
Jesus.
Enough out of you. Look, I feel like our tone's
Jeremy,
been
out.
less than celebratory.
Yeah, dude.
Not today.
Out.
Not
today?
No, Jeremy,
No.
you don't get to do that. It's the Dan Le Batard Show.
Out.
Go.
We
Go.
should be
Ridiculous.
celebrating
Not today.
this victory, even though it's one
That's
game,
right, Jess.
with Ryan Cortez doing what he does best, calling into Boston radio and playing Pitbull songs on unsuspecting radio hosts.
That's a cue for you, Chris Cody. That was her.
He was really
I was celebrating.
He was celebrating his go thing.
It's like we told Jeremy to go, and I hit.
Yeah, I heard your joke,
Yeah.
and then she was
But you
making
gotta-
one.
you gotta
and you
keep
were,
moving.
I was
you were
listening
so,
to Mike Praise me
you
behind
were
me. I
so
was like, oh,
busy
good.
smelling your own
Yes.
farts that you didn't hear Jessica
I'll take the
throw
blame
it.
for that.
Yeah.
We're a team here, Dan.
Okay, it's the woman's
we do
fault.
everything as you're right. It's Chris's fault.
111-101, game 2 at TD Garden. Absolutely disgusting. You're supposed to be winning 18 and you're out there laying eggs without this. Let's go to Danny in Cambridge. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Bro, I got to be honest. I am pissed right now. I was watching the game at El Palacio de los Jugos. I cannot believe we got a good game finally for once out of Tatum and Brown both. But, if Joe Mazzulla can't make adjustments, if he's going to lose to Eric Spoelstra in game 2, that means to me that the Celtics are playing like let's go.
Thanks, Danny. Danny brought us sound effects.
How does he keep getting away with? How did they not hang up as soon as he said he was watching the game at Palacio de los Jugos? How does he get away with this every time? He is a master at his craft.
He was sleeping in a slumber. It was funny last night to sort of jostle him awake and make him go run toward WEI. We did not know we were going to be able to do any of that this year. I do want to explain to the audience that might not know this, that just because Pitbull sings it culo so happily, it is the word asshole. And so I don't know if the majority of people listening to this know that when Pitbull sings culo, it's asshole. But so what he just did on WEEI is tell the host there that the Boston Celtics played like asshole.
Or just ass.
Yeah, it could be general ass.
I don't think it has
area.
to be the whole.
When I think of culo, I always think of the whole. I don't think of the entirety of the butt. I think
when I was growing up, it was just the whole, but then after Pitbull dropped culo, it became the general ass area.
Is that what?
Cheeks.
Is
Yeah.
Salute to General Booty, by the way.
Wait a minute. I was pretty sure that throughout my Cuban childhood, I'll ask Mero this. Mero's going to come through here today. I want to know, throughout my entire life, culo has not been the entirety of the ass. You're suggesting to me that Pitbull changed that so that it went from a smaller surface area to the entirety of the surface area?
Yeah, somewhere in the aughts when Lil Jon and Pitbull dropped culo, it expanded out from the whole to the whole ass.
So you think it's like asshole? Like
I
that's
mean,
the
that's-
song?
Yeah, asshole.
Not just
Yeah.
like butt.
Yeah.
Ass.
Yeah.
That's how you make it mainstream.
Yeah, I think right now the only song about that is Brown Eyed Girl. It went from asshole to whole ass.
Jessica, I appreciate your command of the language. I'm simply saying to you that as a child, whenever it was said in my house by my father or anyone else, I think I've told you guys this story. The word in Spanish for a fish is pescado. In my childhood, my father would wear swimming trunks in the ocean, and then he would do like a handstand where his shorts would fall off, and he would call himself a pesculo. And it wasn't because it was the word was ass. It was It was not the entirety of the ass. It was simply the whole.
I know. It's kind of like, when bad became good after Michael Jackson dropped Bad. It's kind of like that.
There's so many people listening who did their first dance with their dad or someone, a loved one at their wedding to Brown Eyed Girl that now are just crying in their car.
Yeah, you guys didn't know that? No, it's totally about the asshole.
Put it on the poll, please. Did you know that Brown-Eyed Girl was about the culo at Le Batard Show? And for our Hispanic brethren out there, culo, does it mean ass? Because I did not know this. Or asshole. I thought Run DMC changed. You're saying it's Michael Jackson? I thought I thought Run DMC made bad good.
I mean, the vernacular is out there, and pop music is just there to give it a megaphone. You know, did Michael Jackson and Run DMC invent bad? No, someone on a street corner did. But, you know, they gave it the platform.
Juju, were you mad at the Celtics last night?
I'm always mad at the Celtics. I wake up every morning, regular season. Like, it's always some room for improvement. This whole season, I knew, like, bro, this record is fool's gold. I've been saying the same thing over and over all season. It's just, I know I'm black and you don't listen to me, but it's cool. I've been saying the Celtics are fool's gold. I love them, but when they get to the playoffs, they always show this same side, and they have to prove something to me.
I have said this year that I didn't think that Barkley's criticism, it feels cruel to me. It feels unfair to dismiss a team as not mentally tough enough, especially a team that has been that historic, that great during the regular season. But this is absolutely a reputation that represents what I believe is this team's only frailty. And I generally don't tend to believe in that as a frailty. Yes, Michael Jordan was a competitive asshole. It was celebrated. A culo. Kobe Bryant was a competitive culo. And Tatum, for his playing style, which is languid, it's all so beautiful. All of us can see, watching him as a skilled player, that is not something that is made of steel and barbed wire. It is silky and wonderful, and it's ballet in the air. And if you have a question about this team, and I'm telling you, that's not something I do. I don't call people who get to the top of sports mentally frail, because I think it's very hard to get over other people on competition for money. But I understand how it is that a game like last night reinforces that appraisal.
That's why we miss Marcus Smart so much. Like, that's why the true lifers, the true hoopers knew that when we lost Marcus Smart, that was more than just our point guard. That was a dog that we had.
Yeah, but it was a dog that I was happy was shooting wide open threes. I think that they did have to move, and I do think that the Celtics will be better because of this matchup. Now that Jimmy is not there, it's like an old heavyweight rival that is washed, that decides to be your sparring partner, and mentally you know that you can clear that hurdle. It's still the Miami Heat uniform. And for Joe Mazzola, who needs to make some adjustments here, for them to get through that speed bump, that boogeyman, because for many respects, the Miami Heat are the boogeyman of the Boston Celtics. This is a shell of what they could be, even at the high end. If Jimmy's healthy and they're playing out of their mind, I still think Boston is better. But the fact that they can get past this and have a little bit of struggle, this will ultimately be good for the Boston Celtics, I think.
The thing that's interesting about their adjustment from Game 1 to Game 2 is that it was essentially adjusting back to what the Heat did to the Celtics last year, which is force the Celtics to play one-on-one. And this is the thing that Juju was concerned about all year long, about them playing late in games in isolation ball. But if you saw last night, Dan, you mentioned, they blitzed the Celtics off the three, and their one stretch of the game where they played zone was really the one stretch where the entire Boston offense started to cook, where Al Horford hit a three, where Sam Hauser hit a three. When Boston's just playing iso ball.
I don't think you can be. This zone has been effective. I don't think it works against Boston. This team. This team, that zone is not something that's going to work very much. Which is why you saw
very few Kevin Love minutes, because they need to play zone when Kevin Love is in there. Jovic is the guy that stepped up.
This is one of the things that I would have gotten wrong in my analysis after Game 1, and it's one of the reasons, Mike, that I don't feel comfortable questioning the expertise of these particular people who have run this city for 20 years, giving us all of our best moments out here. My analysis after Game 1 would have been Kevin Love needs to play more. That I need more Kevin Love minutes, and obviously that was among the many things I would have gotten wrong.
I think last night Spoelstra and that franchise showed you that they can maximize the talent, and it's a little frustrating that they're not healthy, because I do think that you'd actually have a real legitimate series, and you could lean into the ghost of years past. But Look, last night is a testament to Eric Spoelstra. They have a head coaching matchup every time. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever do it. And Boston needs to figure that part out.
Exactly, and I think we have one of those dogs on our bench. Sam Cassell, assistant coach. Look out, brother. Joe Mazzulla, you make one false move, ass.
Asshole.
Again, imagine a totally sleepy firehouse that hasn't had like a lot of activity. Never mind a fire. Every once in a while you get called to get a cat out of a tree or something, but there's never an actual fire. Now all of a sudden, we've gotten everyone in the firehouse awake and running in every direction. We bring in our New York studio. The Heat have won a basketball game in the playoffs. It's all hands on deck for Meadowlark Media. Amin and Charlotte are joining us from New York. They weren't even in New York this morning, but we made them hurry up and get into a studio so that we could laugh at Charlotte's pain. Go ahead and show everybody leaving Boston early. Pat Riley grinning through his fangs because, again, bleep Boston. Charlotte, Amin, they are oddball. They're every weekday except for Monday on the DraftKings Network and at Le Batard Show on YouTube. I encourage you to see the growth of that show. It has found its stride and its voice. It is funny. It is informative. They have great chemistry. Amin, Charlotte, thank you for joining us. First off, though, Charlotte, as a Celtics fan who is now thinking of changing her allegiances to the New York Knicks, how are you feeling today about having the post-traumatic stress disorder of last year dropped on your lap again?
You say it, and my stomach drops, Dan. I feel terrible. I feel very, very bad. I feel very bad. And look, the thing is, I think part of this is that I talked to a lot of Knicks fans the other day, and they were like, I would lick 7th Avenue for Jaylen Brunson. And then I watch the Celtics, and there's like one game where they need some vibes, and fans are like, you know what, we're good. Like, thanks for the most historic regular season ever. What are we doing? That's so soft. That's so soft.
Sounds like you're blaming
you're
the
not
fans.
Entitled.
It sounds like you're blaming the fans.
I'm blaming everybody, Dan. I'm blaming the environment. Everybody. The team looked miserable, and I think that for me, it also made it clear that like fandom is something that as much as it's like, oh, it looks fun over there. Like it's ingrained in you. Like I was so pissed last night. I was sitting there. I underbite. I was like, yeah. Mad.
Do you sleep with your fists balled up? Like, do you have trouble getting to sleep?
Yes, I have a tension headache this morning. My neck hurt last night as I was going to bed. I just think, like, also, I want to be clear. Like, I never said ever that this is a foregone conclusion. I did on social media, actually. No, I did say that.
I mean, what were your thoughts? What did you find interesting? Because the one place that Heat fans, and of course it's easy to look like this when you make all your threes, but the one place that Heat fans do have ultimate confidence of having the biggest mismatch in the entirety of the series, I would say, is, well, we like our coach's chances adjusting to what you do better, because I don't think the Heat have a chance in this series because Miami is worse. That Boston is better at defense than Miami is at offense, and Boston is better at offense than Miami is at defense. I don't mean that as a slight against Miami. I just think that over 7 games, when those things are true, you generally lose unless I have faith in my coach that in a game 6 or a game 7, he's going to have stuff for you that you don't have.
Yeah, Dan, before I talk about the game, I just want to correct my good friend Mike Ryan. He said Kobe never didn't show up to a game. And I would implore him to look at 2006 Game 7 versus the Phoenix Suns, particularly the second half of that game.
People accused him of quitting, right? Quitting on purpose.
He did that on purpose, no?
He chose it. I mean, he chose to be weak. He chose quitting weakness.
Sure. God rest his soul. I was at the game last night in Boston, and you listen to your whole opening. Sorry for doing my job for you guys. I listened to that whole first segment, and I was staggered that none of you guys talked specifically about what Bam did defensively. I saw a scowl after the game last night. Go ahead and hit it again.
No, that's not good enough.
Hit it.
Nope, not
okay.
good.
Okay, I saw Scal after the game, and I told.
Oh, come on. He deserves a look at me, Louie.
Like, well, I got
a Boston fan here. Give Brian Scalabrine the look at me, Louie.
I saw Scal.
I got the look at me, Louie, for being at the game, but not for talking to Scal. My bad. So I told Scal.
It's not good enough.
That MFer right there is the best defensive player in the league. He's not going to win the award. He is the best defensive player in the league, and it's not even close. The moment you show me Rudy Gobert guarding Jason Tatum, not on a switch, guarding Jason Tatum, guarding Jaylen Brown. Dan, you wondered, how did they bottle up this Celtics offense in the second half? It was Bam Adebayo. And it wasn't just in help defense. It was Bam Adebayo, primary defender on Brown, on Tatum, on Porzingis, even guarded Holiday a couple of times. He was fantastic. And you guys know me. I shoot it straight. When I thought he wasn't doing what he could be doing a couple years ago, I called him Idris, right? That dude, you guys gave him a hard time for the play-in game. I thought that was kind of bogus. You guys gave him a hard time for game 1. I thought that was bogus. I think he's putting together an incredible run of games here. And just last night, he then added the timely shot making. So it wasn't an offensive explosion, but it was timely shot making. And that's exactly what they needed. That's the best defensive player in the NBA, bar none.
So it wasn't your list. We can scratch your name off.
You know what's funny about that? I appreciate you mentioning that today, Jessica, because it's unfortunate that Billy's not here today, and I will remind everyone here, $5.
I'll have 5, please.
$5. I will remind everyone here that today, tonight, on NFL Draft Day, that Billy is planning an extravaganza with Stugotz that will have draft day coverage on our YouTube channel over the course of the evening. But I find it unfortunate that Billy's not here today to enjoy the delight of this. The beginning of that game yesterday, right before it started, I'm settling in for an enjoyment of my evening watching Celtics Heat basketball, and I am engaged in getting furious texts from Stan Van Gundy, who's about to broadcast the game, saying to me, why did you tell people, in what world do you think that I would tell people that Bam is not as good as 13 or 14 other centers? And he's furious at me. And I'm trying to explain to him, no, Billy's doing that on purpose. He's like, Scal told me. I know, Scal didn't hear me yelling. I didn't say that about Stan Van Gundy. It wasn't Stan Van Gundy. And so now Stan Van Gundy, before doing that game last night, just because of Billy, is yelling at me, angry. A friend, which is exactly what I was afraid of. And it becomes the same thing that Stugotz did to me with Warren Sapp, always saying that Warren Sapp has bad breath, and Warren Sapp now wants to kill me.
It's true, by the way, Dan. I saw Stan Van Gundy last night.
He has bad breath.
No, I saw Stan Van Gundy last night, and he was pretty upset. He was pretty irate.
I'm
Stan,
not making that up. Like, Stan is now mad at me because of what Billy did, which I knew is what was going to happen.
Could have just said whose list it was.
It's good. You did it. Dan.
I did not do
There's
it.
someone who said, Dan, you said somebody who's with
But
NBA
I said
ties.
4 times it's not Stan. Like I said, because
Which
Billy
is
kept
something
saying it's Stan.
Doth protest too much.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like you were saying it was Stan by saying it wasn't Stan.
I didn't think it was
That's how I would do
Stan
it.
before, but now I do.
For sure. Now I do also.
Why would he say that?
It's messed
Pretty
up.
crazy take by him.
Why would anyone
It's really
say
messed
that?
up. I wouldn't, not even me at my worst bit.
Bam was great on both sides yesterday, and one of the places that he was great, I mean, this is what you've been asking for a long time. You've asked for him to be really aggressive, and every time Porzingis was on him, he was really aggressive. But not only that, every time but one, when the Celtics are creeping back to within 7, within 5, within 6, you got Robinson missing a 3 that puts you up 15, and then Hauser hitting a 3. You got Robinson missing another 3, and then White hits a 3, and they get to 6, and they get to 5. But when you can get it scary, Bam stopped it every time. There were a lot of 3s that did it too, but Bam in the middle of the paint just shooting a little jumper confidently by being aggressive in the post in a way he isn't always. It was just as impressive as on offense to me as it was on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, people are going to look at the box score. They're going to hear us talk and say, did he have 40? No, he didn't have 40, but he hit, as you said, timely shots. And Spo talked about that post-game as well. You also have to give a shout out to Caleb Martin, who, if it were, I was going to say he had the game of his life, except, he already did that last year against Boston.
You can't say that. Boston fans are like, just every game against Boston is the game of Caleb Martin's life. And I mean, you said something. You said that the one thing that made me feel a little bit better about Boston fans was that no matter what, whenever Caleb Martin's name was said, they booed him.
Every single time his name was mentioned, every time he touched the ball, every time he got in the game. Even when he got called for a foul, you'd think they would cheer, yeah, foul on you. Nope, they booed him.
Maybe
they
not
hate
do
Caleb
that,
Martin.
Boston fans. Can we just keep it cool?
Code red.
That maybe the thing that sparked the damn heroicism.
So Jeremy, I hear you say code red. It's funny. I don't know if I'm breaking news here, but allegedly in the Heat locker room before the game, they played the speech several times from A Few Good Men. And then during the game, as Caleb is making these big plays, certain individuals from the bench were yelling out, "Code red! They ordered a code red!"
And Joe Mazzulla's like, what is that? I've only ever seen The Town.
But
he also actually does watch Whiplash and The Dark Knight, so.
I have not seen that Caleb Martin since the last time he played Boston in the playoffs. And it's no knock on Caleb Martin, but he only plays that way against Boston. Boston must have some sort of shell shock on if that guy's releasing the ball from 3, it's going in, because his percentages against them are crazy. Like, it's not, he's one of the best shooters ever against only them. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, you tell me I'm wrong. Like, against only them, Caleb Martin is to be super feared because, as Stan was saying on the broadcast last night, enraged at me for something I didn't report about him, he was saying again and again, Caleb Martin should have been the most valuable player last year of the Eastern Conference Finals.
He and Josh Hart,
I agree.
He and Josh Hart turned on a different level when it comes to these playoffs. Sorry, I mean.
No, my bad, brother. Go ahead. You know, they don't listen to black people on that show so much, so we gotta find a way to share.
Damn right they don't.
Let's talk to a white person about what his opinion
Damn it,
is.
Dan.
Yeah, Caleb Martin against Boston in his playoff career shoots 48.6% from 3. Against everybody else, it's 32.5%. So it really is amazing, but that also has to do with their defensive scheme. They've decided we're going to leave Caleb Martin wide open in the corner over and over and over again. It's the thing that bit them in the first 3 games of last year's playoffs against the Heat. It's the thing that bit them in Game 7, and now it's the thing that got them in Game 2.
Any final thoughts from Oddball? Again, every weekday except for Mondays on the DraftKings Network and at Le Batard Show on YouTube.
I do think that there's something here, expectations. Like, if everyone says over and over that you're not going to win and you're the Miami Heat and you've got that dog in you, and they said this last year, I was saying, people were like, well, it's different this year. The Celtics are amazing. I'm like, we had this exact same conversation about the Heat last year. We also even had the same conversation about Kulo, whether it's ass or asshole. So this is like, I got real PTSD here, Dan. Yeah, we're in reruns, and I've seen this movie before, and like, I just want everyone in Boston, the team, the fans, like bring that energy. And nothing is a foregone conclusion here. This is this danger zone. Code red, danger zone.
Do we have time for a stat of the day? I got a quick one for you.
Go ahead.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
The Heat and the Celtics have met in the playoffs in their franchise histories 6 times. All 6 times, the winner of the series goes to the NBA Finals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a must-win series for both of these teams.
Before you get
'cause otherwise they're out.
Before you get out of here,
Okay.
Charlotte, what's this clip we have from Oddball that I'm throwing it to? What is it?
It's me talking to Knicks fans, Dan, about how much they love Jaylen Brunson.
Let's do it.
We are doing a piece on how much New York loves Jaylen Brunson.
MVP!
Would you give Jaylen Brunson $20?
Give him $40 to give me 40 points.
$1 a point. That feels cheap. Would you give Jaylen Brunson your dollar?
She got vet bills. Take her. She's a problem.
Would you lick 7th Avenue for Jaylen Brunson?
7th Avenue uptown or downtown? They sweat pretty good over here, I think. Yeah.
Hard.
Why not?
This team is really fun, but I'm not a Knicks fan. We are doing a piece on how
I do not know this man well enough yet to say publicly that I love him, but I will tell you all that I love his work. Roy Wood Jr. has tours coming up in Portland, Los Angeles, Tampa, tour stops, Indiana, St. Louis, Chicago. If you want tickets, roywoodjr.com is where you go. It is nice to see you again, Roy. What brings you by? Because I know you love sports. Is it because it's such a giant day, the draft day? Is it what makes you sports intensive on today?
You know, Dan, we need to talk a little bit about the draft, where teams lie to their fan bases and give them hope, and make you hang all of your hopes and dreams and disappointments in life on the shoulders of a young man coming out of a lot of NIL money. And I know we want to believe that this draft is going to be the thing that is going to change the lives of your team. I'm here to tell you it's not, especially if the team changed uniforms. I'm here with stats. Since everybody wants to gamble and everybody wants to decide how to spend their money every season gambling on stuff, I'm going to give you one sure bet for this year for the NFL. It is my gift to you and your fans. This is the stuff I couldn't do on the Daily Show. This is why I left the Daily Show. I said, hey, can we do a sports gambling football draft segment? And they said no. And I said, go get Jon Stewart then.
You're going to give us a sure bet? You're going to give it. You're promising the people. You're daring to be bold enough to promise.
Let's not get in the lawsuit land. I didn't say promise. I said I will. Maybe we should work on the name. A semi-sure bet.
Okay.
I like that bet. Right. Semi-sure bet.
But you're doing it with data. You're not gasbagging. See, you like facts. You're somebody, a lot of people have opinions, but you like your stuff backed by facts.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of teams. I'll move fast through this because we got a lot of data to break down, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. More often than not, I had a belief that NFL teams only change their uniforms when they've had a terrible season.
Oh, wow.
And it is a way to reinvigorate the fan base. It is a way to get people to buy merch again, the same way the Dolphins tricked me when they changed from the logo, the sperm whale. That's not a dolphin. Whatever that is on the helmet now, it's not a dolphin. Love Tua. I'm happy the team's competitive. But bring back the dolphin with the helmet on. Why does this dolphin have no helmet on, Dan Le Batard? He's going to get a concussion.
You're so right about this. Put it back on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Bring back the dolphin with the helmet on it. Yes or no?
Yes.
Mike says no. Wait a minute. What do you mean no?
Because it becomes helmet inception. The dolphin's wearing a helmet that the team doesn't actually wear. So you have a dolphin and a helmet on a dolphin helmet on a dolphin helmet. It's kind of like the Baltimore Orioles logo, where the Oriole wearing a hat is a logo, but the hat that the Oriole is wearing isn't the logo or hat that they wear.
This is fair. This is very fair. But my point is, I believe that teams psychologically have to figure out a way to reinvigorate the fan base. The draft is one part of it, but the league has also figured out now if we change the clothes, then maybe you'll think the team is different. But shout out to Matt and shout out to all the stat nerds that you have on your staff, Le Batard. Pulled up some stats for you over the last 20 years. Over the last 20 years, there have been 23 NFL franchises that have made some alteration to either their logo or the actual color scheme or uniform pattern, and also Commanders, because racism, we even threw that in. Okay. So out of those 23 teams, I want you to just give me a wild guess of how many teams had a winning season after changing their uniform.
Well, I'm assuming, since you're coming on with big data, I'm assuming that it's very, very high. But in order to help you, I'm going to say 2.
6.
I'm bad at the game.
23 uniform changes. 23 uniform changes. Only 6 teams saw a winning record the following season after the uniform change. It is chronic how terrible teams are after a uniform change. 2020, Chargers, Patriots, Washington racisms, all 7-9 after the uniform change.
So it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Like, it jinxes. Like, there's just something about wearing that old shirt, that old jersey, that old thing. You feel competitive in it. It takes a year to adjust. We hadn't even had time to do the adjustments for Major League Baseball and what the hell is going on with the little tykes, with the, you know,
We can all
we
see
don't have time.
We
to
can
give
all
it-
see their junk.
So, well, I hadn't been looking at that yet, but also I'm a Cubs fan. It's cold, so it retracts. So you can't, you know, they don't drop
Allegedly.
till July in Wrigley. 2013 was another one. Dolphins with the sperm whale went 8-8 the next season. Jaguars with 2-14 changed the logo, went 4-12. Attaboy. You want to know what happened to your Vikings fans? 2013, 10-6. Changed the uniform next year, 5-10. Stop messing with the logo. Only winning teams, the only teams with winning records after changing their logo, 2018 Titans, 2017 the Rams and Lions both got winning records, Seahawks and Colts in 2012. That's it. Oh, and the Bengals. The Bengals went 4-11 in 21, and old Joe Burrow slid into town and took them 10-7 the following year.
That helps, right? We can change the logo, and if we make the quarterback Joe Burrow, that's helpful.
Yes, that's probably the only way. So 23 teams, only 6 had winning records, which brings me to this year's football jersey changes for the upcoming 2024 season.
Oh, wow. So you're saying bet the under here on victories based on your big data, right?
And now we're into the semi-sure bet from Roy Wood Jr.
Excellent.
Dan Le Batard.
Excellent.
Your semi-sure bet for 2024. Broncos, Jets, Texans, Lions, all bet them under 500.
The Texans and the Lions.
Texans. Wow.
I like CJ Stroud too. I know they just had a free agent big pickup. I know they got some stuff going on in the mix over there. Good for them. I'm just telling you what the last 20 years of data says, which is that 3/4 of the teams are going to eat it.
Houston and Detroit are good though, Roy. That seems that they seem like they'll test your theory.
Okay, yeah, they were good. So were the Patriots after 2020 when they were 12-4. Changed the logo, 7-9.
Well, but wait a minute. Something happened there other than just the logo change.
We're not going to talk about him retiring. That had nothing to do. This is all. This is a semi-sure bet, Dan Le Batard. You will not poke holes in this theory.
Okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't a hole I was trying to poke in it. The quarterback also seems to it also seems to be kind of important. But you're saying that this is a marketing ploy in general. You feel like you've unmasked the NFL on this their big day. You can't fool us with your hopeful lies just by changing the colors or taking the helmet off a dolphin.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm just saying the team's not going to be good. I own 3 sperm whale jerseys, so let's not get it twisted. I even bought a Jay Cutler. Look, I'm down bad as a Dolphins fan, bro.
They hurt you last year, didn't they? They hurt you. You had hope for last year.
Yeah, we had a backslide in December, but you're a Dolphins fan. You're used to something weird happening once the temperature drops below whatever the hell. So, I think we come back next year. I think we'll be fine. I have no idea what our needs are in the draft. I am curious to see if the Patriots trade down and go into like an official rebuild year and just let Mac Jones hold the fort down for a little bit.
Well, he's been traded to Jacksonville, so he's going to be holding the fort down over there probably.
I've been watching baseball. This is the first day that I've checked in
all
on
right.
football. I do think I was too busy watching Caitlin Clark. I didn't have time to keep up with your off-season moves.
Kick, save, and abuse.
It's fair. It's fair commentary. He's got shows coming up in Portland, Los Angeles, Tampa, Indiana, St. Louis, and Chicago. Get tickets at roywoodjr.com. Any thoughts on Reggie Bush getting back his Heisman?
Good, and put him back in the Heisman House commercial immediately. Give the man if I was Reggie, I'd take that Heisman trophy and go outside and spike it or pawn it immediately.
That would be good on social, huh? If he took it and I don't want it anymore and just broke it.
Yeah, but that's the ultimate disrespect. So, good for him. I'm glad that we're actually trying to retroact. It's like it's the closest. The Reggie Bush Heisman fiasco is the closest we have in sports to like the retroactive marijuana laws where they let people out of jail now. And like, hey, man, sorry about that weed arrest. It's a different world out here now. Here's your trophy back, bro.
I think you've got a good idea, though, there on countering the disrespect that they did to him and his achievements by countering it by just destroying this trophy once he gets it back.
I think the NCAA knows the truth. None of this is going to matter in 10 years when we have a full-fledged college, minor league, NFL, G League, XFL system that's owned by The Rock.
RoyWoodJr.com is where you go. It's good seeing you again. Don't be a stranger. We want to see you soon, all right?
Broncos, Jets, Texans, Lions, all under 500. Lock it up for sure.
Love you, brother.
We're in the chat room today with a young Travis Kelce. He talks about dating 50 women while taping a reality show. Our only question is, has Taylor heard this interview? Hold on to your hearts, Swifties. It's time for a throwback interview from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
He had that reality show. So
are you getting a lot of questions about that reality show? How does that one go over with Andy Reid?
Yeah, no, that wasn't Andy's favorite show. Andy's a big show guy, not a big Catching Kelsey fan.
Do you find it dispiriting when it's met with that? When you're like, hey, man, this is all fun. I'm just doing a reality show. I know I don't have your older sensibilities about how I should date.
No, I honestly, everything, I've always been the one to kind of, go astray of everyone doing the routine things. And I've always kind of just, lived my own life. And I think that's a part of it is definitely, going on a TV show and dating 50 women. I was just, when I heard that, I was intrigued, and I was like, yeah, dude, that sounds like something I would enjoy.
I know, but see, this is the thing, and I want to really talk to you about only this, because and Old Spice, no, because have you, okay.
Nailed it.
If you did you have any confrontations with the front office or Andy Reid that were any larger than this one? Because I could see this being the biggest problem in the Chiefs organization for you.
No, this is the only time that the organization has ever had like I want to say a problem, but a question like, dude, what are you doing?
But wait a minute,
it's fun to talk about it now because I got through it and I'm still the same player that I am.
Got through it, Kelsey, really? Wait a minute. That's the thing you're saying on the radio? I got through it. It was a great hardship. This whole dating of 50 women on television, but I got through it.
It was tough.
Over the dead body of Andy Reid.
Tough. I know you're down there in Miami. You've dated 50 women at one point. It's hard. I forgot their names.
Well, that's right.
I started calling women by their states.
Am I right to say, though, that in this instance you asked forgiveness instead of permission, or was it an oversight by you? You knew this was going to upset them, no?
Yes and no. I thought that they were going to react a little bit more understanding, knowing that I wanted to get my face on TV. I enjoy being on TV. I enjoy being in front of the camera. And I thought that they would understand that, but obviously the PR team felt a little different.
Tell us what you want to tell us about Old Spice's Red Collection of premium scents.
This year they're really pushing the Red Collection, and what it is, it's premium scents for exceptional gents.
You feel a little ridiculous saying that. I'm not saying. Look, man,
I feel like a captain saying that. Actually, no. He the Red Collection is it's affordable. It's not in the fancy bottle. It's not fancy prices. Everybody can smell great using the Red Collection.
All right, we play a game around here. It's a looks like game. It's just what people in sports look like. So Butch Jones played for you. You played for Butch Jones at Cincinnati.
Sure did.
Does Butch Jones look like the physical manifestation of anger in a kid's movie about the emotions?
I could say there's similarities in there.
Does Andy Reid look like the actor used in a History Channel reenactment of the Civil War who enters a tent to give Lincoln an important update?
Yes,
he
does.
Okay, does Andy
I don't
Reid?
know if he's coming in on a horse, though.
No horse. Andy Reid looks like he waggles his fingers in front of a tray of donuts and says, "Don't mind if I do." All right.
We got donuts on Fridays. I think I've seen him do it.
So he and the last one, does Andy Reid look like the guy running down the stairs from the brothel in his long johns in the Old West Saloon because the lady of the night stole his boots and cowboy hat?
That is beyond ridiculous, and I will not stand for that. That is not Andy Reid.
No. Does he look like it though? No. This is not. No. I'm not alleging that it looks. I'm not alleging that Andy Reid's moral compass
if it looks
would ever
like
allow
if it
that
walks
or
like a
a
duck.
reality show with a tight end. If it looks like a duck.
If it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, you might as well call it a duck. I would say no, but yeah, I don't think Andy's coming out of the Red Cabaret or anytime soon. I don't know.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. It was a pleasure. All right.
Always a pleasure, guys. Fun stuff.
It's a sports equinox. Every sport is happening, even American football. We got the UFL, Battlehawks, Defenders. So things on other sides of the sports spectrum may be falling by the wayside. And I want to make sure that we highlight these other sports, particularly tennis. Okay? Now, it's not super sexy right now. We don't have a major going on. We're ramping up for Roland Garros. But I saw a video that I submit to you and our audience as the most French shit you'd ever see.
I did try, Corentin. I told you. I can't get it myself.
I saw them like they even do it on tennis TV. They put that they ask for a coffee. You can't bring your coffee because what? I'm playing on football. Tell me.
It doesn't matter where we play. It doesn't matter where we play.
Give me a right wrist.
We don't provide coffee.
Can I go take a coffee then?
We don't provide coffee.
Why you don't provide coffee? You provide bananas. You provide like Coca-Cola. You provide like Sprite. You provide like
Time.
You provide Mark, you don't bring a coffee. Don't do anything for a player. Am I asking for caviar or something like this?
Corentin, I told you the decision. We need to play now.
And that's the problem.
You provide bananas is a wonderful sentence to yell at management.
He was like, "This isn't. I'm not asking for caviar. Just give me a freaking coffee."
So Jess has done some research and found that this tennis player in particular has made requests in the past, and he's kind of a bit of a character. I will say that makes for a bad victim in this place because he's kind of right. I have talked to, and I know you've gone at some folks with this, anonymous former pro tennis players, and he should have coffee. His point about you guys provide bananas and water and electrolytes, they usually provided coffee.
We provide coffee. Yeah. And you know, one of the things I love about Formula One is if you walk through the paddock, you see a bunch of fancy espresso machines in the Ferrari section. They provide coffee.
I've got to be honest about this, though. If you make me think of tennis, I generally think of it as something that is coffee-free. That a tennis player isn't going to want the dehydrating aspects of coffee while he's playing. I understand perhaps the needing of caffeine, but when I think of tennis players, you might as well tell me provide cigarettes because it seems to run counter to what they're doing out there to have your body dehydrated by coffee.
Well, he probably asked for cigarettes too.
That would make it the most French thing ever.
Yeah. Well, it's not like they don't lack for things to replenish the dehydration that coffee might bring. The tennis players are coffee fiends, but like I said, it's not the first thing he's stepped into, Jess. You reached in to the internet and you dug out some things.
Moutet.
Yeah, Corentin Moutet.
I love the way Mike says it. He's a tennis player from France, and he called Tsitsipas' dad stupid, I guess, a couple of years ago for talking while he was serving. And he also asked for a Pepsi once during a match. I'm not sure if coffee is dehydrating. I've read conflicting reports on it because it does contain a lot of water. And he wasn't asking for espresso. He was asking for, he must be espresso. He's French. I don't know, Dan. I mean, coffee would be a great thing to have before a tennis match. You're just on your feet. You're faster. You're thinking quicker. It makes you awake. It makes you feel alive. Why wouldn't you want a coffee before a tennis match?
I thought it was dehydrating, and the reason I thought it was dehydrating is because I passed out on a sidewalk. I told you guys this story. Oddly enough, this was funny for a number of different reasons, but I'm coming to it was at that point the scariest moment of my wife's life, okay? Because I'm sitting outside on a sidewalk cafe in the middle of the afternoon, and I'm staring at my wife, and next thing you know, I'm waking up with paramedics around me because I've just passed out. And that morning, I had sprinted on the beach with Billy Gill doing the recreation of the Rocky scene because the paramedics were asking me in my haze, like they were trying to go through, well, what happened here? Why do you think you passed out? And I'm like, I do not know. And they're like, did you exert yourself a great deal earlier in the day? And I'm like, well, yes, actually. I did sprints out of nowhere on the beach, like dozens of sprints on the beach.
You also grabbed his butthole in that video.
I think it's a culo. Yeah, my bad.
So it was the sprinting, not the coffee.
No, but then I asked them, or they asked me some more questions in my haze, and they asked me if I had had enough water, and I said no. And then they asked me, how much coffee have you had today? And I'm like, too much. And so they said, yes, coffee dehydrates. Again, when I think of tennis players, if you were to say to me, hey, tennis players, now I know that they drink coffee in the lounges and in the clubhouse and everywhere else, but if you told me next to the court, I would have guessed no on that one. I would have just guessed no.
I drink coffee when I'm playing every sport, really, when I'm doing every workout, before I go for a run, before I go to work. I mean, it's a good thing to have around. It's just a really good thing to have.
But you think science is conflicted about this? So put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Is coffee dehydrating? At Le Batard Show.
I do know that tennis players pound coffee like you wouldn't believe. It's weird. It's one of their things.
If you Google just, is coffee dehydrating? The first thing that comes up from GoodRx says it actually might be hydrating for some people because it contains so much water. So I guess this depends. If, like Jess said, if you're drinking espresso, maybe not. But if you're just drinking a cup of coffee, it could be hydrating.
A combination, because you can get the shakes from coffee, especially if you're a little bit more dehydrated.
What do you guys do with this stat, Juju? This one's going to hurt you. I don't know if maybe you felt this, but I don't know if you know it numerically. This is from excommunicado Tim Reynolds. The Celtics at home in the regular season since May 1st, 2022, 69-13. The Celtics at home in the playoffs since May 1st of 2022, 10-13. At home in the playoffs. This is one of the best home teams we have ever seen. To see that game never really get close, to see Miami have a punch for every punch that Boston was throwing, and this part's interesting, right? I don't know that it means anything because a lot of series happen 1-1 at the beginning and then the better team wins in 5 or 6 games. But when you start combining something that could be felt on your television in that game, which is, oh, they're missing all of their shots, and that place has gotten awfully quiet, unusually quiet for what that place is historically and for the bravado and all the chest of the regular season. Oh, wow, when the shots are not falling like that and you realize the growing force of there's Bam getting confidence against our Porzingis in the middle, and our Porzingis doesn't look like he's looked all season and also hasn't been here the last 4 years the way Bam's been blocking Tatum's shot at the rim since the bubble.
You say this in front of a screen that is looping Celtics fans leaving the arena early, and if I must say something right now, I always found that kind of whack. Because I'm a South Florida sports fan and I've often been at the receiving end of national pundits. Sometimes, it's worth having the conversation over. Sometimes it's a gotcha thing, and it's super effective because it gets under every fan's skin. And I've literally forced myself to stay in my seat for blowouts so I'm not a contributor to these memes. You understand? Like, I totally get it. It's a school night. Why should I watch the final 30 seconds? But I remind myself, I got to watch the final 30 seconds because the Boston version of Will Manso is going to loop this behind Dan Le Batard.
The thing about this that I have always found really amusing, and I think the people listening to this probably can't step back from it quite enough to find it amusing. The idea of getting hurt, wounded, rabid, and defensive because you're not enough of a fan of something is one of the funniest things that you will find in sports that doesn't have a place anywhere else as an insult. It's not an insult to say that you're 98% a good fan, but what you have to do to be a really better fan is sit there and support your team when you're disgusted with it.
And sit in traffic, you punk.
That's right. Go home late and deal with you went to this cheating. You went to this place to get away from all of your problems, to have it make you feel better about things. You use it as your escape, and then you dare to leave your seat 30 seconds early because you don't want to get stuck in traffic with Chris Cody fighting about your morals with somebody because you try to get out of traffic a little early. And what do people seize on with great judgment? You're inadequate in the way that you care. The way that you care, and not just the way that you care, the way that you care about about the way a basketball bounces with other human beings that doesn't involve you touching the basketball in any way. You don't care about that enough. And you're like, I do. I care about it unreasonably. It's a part of my identity. I wear another adult man's jersey with his name on my back because I want his identity so much. What do you mean I don't care? You don't care enough. You left early because your team was down and you're disgusted with it.
Man.
I'd say the fans who left early care more than the others who sat there in their own filth, sat there in their own. The other ones want to be like, no, I came here for my escape. Porzingis, you didn't give it to me. I'm leaving disgusted. I don't trust what I'm going to say around you. I've got to leave.
I always heard that. If you don't have nothing positive to say, leave the game early.
I will say, beating traffic is awesome. Like when you're at a crowded arena and you're just out of there, you're cruising out of there like 10 minutes before the rush. Oh.
You just got a Jessica eye roll right now.
There's just something about it, though. Jess, come on. You've left early. Come on.
Fans.
You've done it. Come on.
I don't know if I've ever left early.
Oh, come on.
Seriously.
Bull honky.
If I'm paying for a what?
Bull honky?
I didn't want to curse.
If I'm paying for a ticket, I better soak in every minute of that game. Oh, yeah. That's my money.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving early. That costs $5, those 30 seconds.
Is this because Gracie's here?
I mean, it is awkward today. A lot of cursing in this place.
Bring your kid to work day. You know how Jalen Hurts had his background for a full year, just him watching the celebration of the Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah. That's how I now approach forcing myself to sit in these seats when I feel bad. I just take the Jalen Hurts mentality of remember this. Remember that we didn't kneel. Remember that wasn't a fumble. Remember that you kicked over this water bottle tower that your daughter built in your luxury box. Yep. Because when we come back, you're going to remember these low points.
You didn't remember it when you left the UNC Miami game early, though.
Oh, hey, too soon. I had to get to somewhere. There was a flight. I had to get to L.A. Oh, yeah, it was. I had to get to L.A. and Chapel Hill. That's a weird town to grab an Uber in. Yeah.
Can we examine for a second just the idea of this, though? Because I know it is a way to judge other fan bases. I don't know that there's a fan base that gets hit with it more. Go ahead and tell me all the fan bases that get hit more with a lack of caring than the Miami Heat's fan base, which, again, has sold out its arena since 2010, the sixth longest streak in NBA history. It's something that sticks to Miami fans, even though it's something that everyone does. And I would just ask the group of you, why do you have to stay somewhere you no longer want to be in order to prove to somebody on the internet that you are the fan you think you are, that person doesn't think you are?
You know, Dan, that would be a bar if you weren't actually making the problem worse right now by sitting in front of a monitor that is looping that behavior.
As art. Mocking it because those are the very people that do that to Miami. Boston will tell you that it's fan allegiance, that it's a regional pride and a cultural identity, unlike any in sports. You were brushing your teeth in a brush off with Celtics legend Paul Pierce yesterday.
My brush was 3 times the size of his, for the record.
A brush off is something we need to get Feldman on a toothpaste sponsor so that Paul Pierce Sterling takes brushing his teeth.
I mean, when your teeth are that expensive, you have to brush them constantly. With those porcelain chompers of his, I'd be brushing nonstop too.
What was the move there by Paul? Was it just like, I don't want these people to think I think they're important, so I'm just going to do this while brushing? Like, I don't know. Is that like a thing he does regularly, or was that
it's a power move
to disrespect us a little? I was confused. It was cool. I liked it.
It was cool, and like some people were sending me clips of him talking his shit while it was happening. And my first thought was, man, that's a boss move. I need to find a bigger toothbrush.
I did not have Paul Pierce as a prop comic, but we can put up on the screen. You've put up on the screen the brush off between Paul Pierce and Mike Ryan. I did think it was unusual, and I didn't feel like I was being shoved around in my own home. But now that you pointed out, him coming in, casually brushing his teeth, I've been criticized in public areas for putting lotion on my skin. That's something to be done privately. I've been criticized for using a Q-tip emerging from the bathroom. People say these are things that are to be done privately. I am someone who has blind spots in this area. This is not something I would ever do on television. Arrive so casually that I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure if my teeth are clean enough. I'm not even caring that you've already started. I'm going to brush my teeth while you ask me questions. But this is a person who has spent a lifetime answering questions about his professional work while nude. So he's living in the locker room space is vastly different than the rest of your workplaces.
Yeah, I feel like most people are worried about debris if they're doing this in front of a camera.
I'm happy that you stopped lotioning your skin while we were having conversations, because that's like peak Bond villain behavior.
I didn't know it was weird until you guys pointed it out to me that putting lotion on your skin in front of people was something that was villainous. But now that I think about it, I would love a movie villain
It puts
that
the lotion on its skin.
slowly, very slowly though, sinisterly.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Why do you got? What else is it in this realm? The Q-tips. These are the two places I feel what it is that you guys
You're
are
also a
talking
big
about.
toothpick guy, but that one's just more socially acceptable. But you had a crazy cinnamon toothpick phase.
I do love cinnamon toothpicks and flavored toothpicks, but that is different. Although that I don't even know culturally what they'll give you some of those in restaurants sometimes.
Culturally, like Razor Ramon made that a thing, so it's totally socially acceptable down here in South Florida.
I got one. If your underwear gets caught in your behind in public, brother, you got to walk around the corner and get that out. Free advice.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. I'd love a new segment, Juju's free advice at Le Batard Show. If you're having to pick a wedgie, do you need to do that in private as a courtesy to others? And also put on the poll at Le Batard Show, is it weird to put lotion on your skin in front of others? Because everyone's good with it at the beach, right? Suntan lotion and all that, that's the acceptable place. Do you also think that internationally, Mike, what it is that you're saying is so on all of these things, whether it's lotion, whether it's a Q-tip, whether it's brushing your teeth in public, you think all cultures are uniform in saying Dan is weird doing that in front of people?
No matter where you are. I think if you have a conversation with someone in the United Kingdom and you're lotioning yourself up, they're going to turn a corner, maybe not even say it out loud, but in their head they're going to be a bit weird, isn't it?
The Kid Marrow's about to be here in a moment. Perhaps we will ask him for some help in legislating a few of these things. Are you guys interested at all in this Tom Brady roast hosted live by Netflix by Kevin Hart? Netflix is obviously trying to do some different things in the streaming age. I don't know what's being reported, but I assume that Amazon is going to get some basketball stuff. I assume that we're going to see a seismic upheaval of how how basketball does business in its next contract with its partners.
There is a real chance that Turner does not get the NBA package, and it's like so synonymous. They built their entire network around it. I imagine if I'm one of these other streamers that ends up getting one of these NBA packages, because if you're the NBA, despite the arrow not pointing up, you got everybody you could possibly want in this game in terms of stalking horses. If Amazon just has to build NBA coverage out of nowhere, just buy Turner's coverage and just move it from one network to another. But, there's a real legit shot that inside the NBA as we know it may not exist.
I will say something. Chris Cody, can you get the imaging, please, that warns people so that they could skip this, that I am talking about some stuff here that is inside media that has to do with ratings and how it is that sports are bolstered by their partners, because all of this to me is fascinating, what it is that's going to change here and what you presently see happening throughout hockey. All of the road teams won last night in hockey, and hockey ratings are up. ESPN, I will tell you from inside the bowels of ESPN, having already seen it once, when ESPN supported hockey a long time ago, it was obvious in their coverage, and it was then obvious in their ratings. When ESPN supported baseball with its package, it was obvious in their coverage, and it was obvious in their ratings. And now, as you watch what is happening at specifically ESPN, where the people there who are around baseball are hurt by how little the network seems to care about baseball, those resources and that interest is being poured into hockey. It is being poured into Pat McAfee's show. Pat McAfee cares deeply about hockey, and you see it in the numbers and the ratings.
Do you get annoyed every time Dan Le Batard pontificates about the sports media industry? Well, too bad, motherfucker. He knows he don't give a damn about what he's gonna say. It's time for Sports Media Talk today.
I think the correlation is actually indisputable because we've lived long enough to watch it happen on the network. Hockey did not matter at ESPN. It did not matter nationally. It mattered internationally, but did not matter in the United States. You've seen it with baseball, and now you're seeing it with hockey again. These are great hockey playoffs. ESPN is celebrating them, and you see the numbers going up in a way that make Jessica yawn enormously.
Well, hockey's presentation was a built and set template, and it left ESPN. It went to First Versus, which rebranded as NBC Sports, and the sport really suffered. It suffered because of a couple reasons. Multiple lockouts, one postseason erased because of a lockout, and because there wasn't they were on an over-the-top cable channel, but there wasn't really good shoulder programming dedicated to it. It was a niche product with very little mainstream exposure. And hockey players were always presented as not really super engaging. Back when you were growing up in the media game, Dan, they weren't necessarily recognized as good talkers. But now, because of social media, because the players generationally changing, they're about this. They're engaging. They're engaging media companies like Barstool giving main channel attention to hockey, leaning into a bit of bro culture that's always been associated with hockey. It makes it seem like a cool sport. Pat McAfee, I'm glad that you shouted him out. Him just platforming the NHL makes it seem cooler, and it just gets a conversation going. These social clips, I'm sure that Bobrovsky save was a massive social clip. All that stuff helps, and it's not really anything that existed with this sport prior to. As you mentioned, the ratings are up. They're not just up a little bit. These are gargantuan increases when it comes to this sport. It's absolutely having a moment.
Roy, Mike Ryan came in today and proclaimed something that I found shocking to hear, given that I'm going to say 18 months ago, Bobrovsky was one of the more frustrating players who had ever come through South Florida for people who care like you and Chris Cody and Mike Ryan about hockey. Mike Ryan is now claiming that Bobrovsky's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 2 Vezina trophies, but 18 months ago, he wasn't playing up to the contract that the Panthers signed him to. And then all of a sudden, Stanley Cup final, and now where he is right now, yes, he's played up to his contract, and yes, he could be in the Hall of Fame.
I can't believe what you're saying, though.
Yeah, there's a couple factors as to how this turned around. First off, you got to give credit first and foremost to the player, Sergei Bobrovsky. But also the Florida Panthers kind of realize how to manage this player, and it's something to keep an eye on here in the postseason. I'm very much subscribed to you play a guy till he gives you a reason to not play him. That's the NHL playoffs. But Bob's minutes were managed in ways this year that allowed for Florida to have the second best goals against average with their goaltenders right now. Stolarz giving Bobrovsky the occasional breather has really helped manage that man's minutes. And you're seeing right now with Winnipeg and Hellebuck, a guy that played a ton, he's all of a sudden struggling. He's by head and shoulders going to be the Vezina winner, and he's given up double-digit goals here against the Colorado Avalanche, who are a very good team in their own respect.
You also have to give credit to Bill Zito for the team that he put in front of Bob because they are stout defensively, especially 5-on-5 and even strength.
Jessica, what is that you are trying to put atop, that pink thing in your right hand that you're trying to put atop the Mountain Dew
sent
Mountain?
Willow a cupcake. Thank you.
A fan mailed you something for...
That's extremely thoughtful.
No, it was actually addressed to Willow.
Okay, so Willow
She
Willow
allowed to have it?
received mail here.
She did.
It
is gluten-free. Can confirm.
I believe that if we open the portal to the audience mailing Willow gifts, I think you're going to have a whole lot of gifts for Willow. And there go all of the cans in the other room.
Mike is a saboteur.
Who ordered the code red?
Oh, was that distracting while you were on the air? My bad.
Jeremy, go sit in the penalty box again for pulling back the curtain on something that was supposed
Willow
to
has
be
a Venmo too, by the way. It's
private.
by Venmo.
Go!
What Mike mentioned about the change in hockey players and public-facing hockey players, it's not just a change in athletes being more comfortable talking freely. Foreigners often have difficulty in their second language, showing the range of their personality. And as I sit here, having seen Bobrovsky change from from guy you were mocking to Hall of Famer, I would have made the argument at any point that I'd like to hear from Bobrovsky on how that happened in English. I'd like to interview him on what it felt like to doubt and be bad and to now be back to Hall of Fame form. And I don't feel that if I sat for an hour with Bobrovsky doing an English language interview that I would be able to get the full force of his humanity or personality.
Goalies are also odd in every sport. You kind of have to be a psycho to play that, and sometimes it just doesn't translate for several reasons. English could be your first language, and you're not necessarily the most giving when it comes to an interview. Like Bob was interviewed about the bobbery that they've started making shirts over, and it wasn't really anything interesting. But I would love to give credit, once again, inside the Barstool family, Spittin' Chiclets. I think it's a huge deal. They have Pink Whitney, which is a very popular drink. These guys are cool, and they bring on other hockey players, and they give them this relaxed platform. And not only that, but one of the co-hosts is on TNT's studio coverage, and TNT, who found the formula with their NBA side, just replicated it on the NHL side. Biz is a really interesting character. He's great with the studio show. I think that platform, Spittin' Chiclets, has really elevated the sport because it's turned a lot of people onto it because it's undeniably a cool show.
Yeah, Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney and RA, they do a good job on that show. That show is 3 hours long, and they do it like multiple times a week. But you're not going to get anything out of Bob. You're absolutely not going to get anything out of Bob. He's low. He has a low voice. He's soft-spoken. He's too humble to be talking about
Well,
that
you got something out of him when you went up to the All-Star game.
Yeah, I got a minute and a half out of him.
As always, Mero is on Hispanic time. He was supposed to be here a while ago. He will arrive whenever it is the marijuana fumes allow him to. We are waiting for him. He does not do time the way that regular human beings do time. I'm not sure he does time even the way that regular Hispanics do time. He will arrive when he arrives, and we will get to that and his Knicks fandom when he arrives. But before we do that, we have a big, fun night planned for you that I'm not totally sure Stugotz is going to execute with his presence and enthusiasm the way that he needs to. But the Meadowlark spaceship has gathered around Stugotz's whims because he's going to be in Troy, Michigan tonight, draft adjacent, because he had a trip planned poorly that he wanted the company to expense, and now he's had Billy build an entire thing around him that Billy is very scared about. He has been made crazy by everything that's being planned tonight. One of the things he said before leaving, I thought he'd be here for the show yesterday, but the last thing he said to me when I realized, he's not going to be here for Wednesday's show is, Dan, I need you to promote my book. The book cover is out. I need you. What are you rolling your eyes about now, Jessica?
I've had a Google Doc open for like 3 weeks of what I'm supposed to write for this book, and
okay, well put. I think it's how we all feel about generally Stugotz at this point. But his book cover is complete. Again, he didn't write any of these words. He has nothing to do with this. I'm not sure how many words he will write for this book, but he was insistent that we publicize a book that he will not write, that others will write for him, that he will not pay anything to write. And in your case, Jessica, he's never asked you or told you what he wants here, right? Just it's his people reaching out to you, telling you that you have an assignment and a deadline, and you are doing this. He's not asking.
It is his people, and the deadline was, I think, 2 months ago.
Can the estate of Larry O'Brien sue Stugotz for this cover? I think you have to license Lord Stanley.
For what it's worth, I don't know what I'm allowed to reveal. Stugotz has written something, and I have read a chapter, and it was good. Like, it was, our audience will like it. There are real words on digital paper.
You're positive?
ChatGPT is amazing these days.
You're positive he wrote them?
No.
No. Okay. So
not a shot. Not a snowball's chance in hell. Did he write
Whoever
this?
Ghost wrote this, they did a very, yes. Dan Stanzik did a great job.
He might have recited it into like an audio text, but he did not write this.
They deleted all the buddies, if that's the case. But I read it and I was like, our audience will like to read this.
Did you control F for the word listen?
It was the first word of each paragraph.
Listen.
And also read.
What about what you guys are doing tonight? Juju, I'm assuming that you flew in, as at least in part, to be a part of those festivities.
Yes, sir, Ski. We are going live with my brother Billy Gill, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, dog. My sister's going to be here. My brothers in the Lord going to be here. My brother Tony, he outside. He ain't here, but he going to be here tonight because he's a hard worker. You already know I salute my brother. I'm so happy that Billy Gill is getting this opportunity to show what he got because he is so talented.
I was thinking about, Dan, I don't know if you ever watched the episode of Arrested Development where they bring their kids to work and it's like an ongoing thread throughout the episode, but I keep looking out the window and seeing more kids, and I don't know whose kids they are, but how cute would it be if everyone brought their kids to the draft and, like, you know, Roger Goodell's kid, I assume he has a kid, I don't know, but announces
it's an adult
the first
man,
pick
I
and
would
then
assume.
does the handshake, and everyone has their kid alongside them. I guess I would hate that, though, right?
Yes, I thought this is off-brand for you. I'm not real sure what it is.
Don't bring your kids to the draft, everyone.
I've been enjoying the general resurgence of Conan O'Brien recently with young people. He changed late-night television. At one point, he had kids only as the studio audience, and it was wonderfully awkward, him making adult jokes to kids who didn't understand them.
We kick it over to Quattro Wingo.
Goodell has 2 twin girls who are 23.
They should do the picks. Today is a weird day, Dan, because the whole city of Chicago woke up thinking today is all of our birthdays. We're getting the number 1 pick in the draft, Caleb Williams, but also this team can't do anything right. They tried to announce this new big stadium plan yesterday that kind of landed with a thump because they want the taxpayers to pay for like $2 billion of it. They want to put it on the lakefront. The governor's already been like, I don't think this is a good deal for us. So it was a big flop, I would say. But on the flip side, they're getting Caleb Williams tonight, presumably, and this should have been like the easiest week of Bears PR in the history of the organization, like 100 years.
The greatest quarterback hope they've ever had is coming to Chicago, and I'm curious.
Since Mitch Trubisky.
I believe this
and
is
Justin Fields.
I believe that this is a greater hope than either one of those based on his draft position. They've never had a great quarterback, and I'm curious how you and Jeremy experience Caleb Williams just being his age and of this age, creating unrest for front offices and the Colin Cowherds of the world who will tell you, okay, I'm okay that my quarterback cries and paints his nails. I find super interesting how much discomfort he's causing by just being youth of this time.
Yeah, I mean, he did it on this show. We talked about it with Amin, and he was like, you better be good. And the irony is, like, Caleb Williams is as good as it gets. And so you have this great hope, and now you're in a position where you have a young man, I caught those. You have a young man who
Is there an earthquake?
is of a different generation than obviously ownership, right? But you have coaches that exist like Mike McDaniel that I'm sure would be embracing this. And so if more and more head coaches are of that kind of mindset of like, hey, man, be yourself and I'm going to get the most out of whoever you are as a human being and a football player, I don't see why he can't be successful just for being himself.
That is a sea change at the top of that sport. The idea that there would be NFL coaches available to support a quarterback's be yourself when being yourself is different than players who are expected to be uniform. I do believe that the modern coach has to connect there. I do believe Bill Belichick doesn't have a job right now, at least in part because he's not someone who can connect there.
Have you noticed that there's been way more national discourse on Caleb Williams painting his fingernails than the starting quarterback for the New York Jets is wondering aloud about the U.S. government creating AIDS?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like,
Every
and
generation.
especially. Oh, go ahead, Juju.
It was just like you touched on last time we spoke on it. Every generation has this. Allen Iverson was a problem. Before that, Magic Johnson was a problem. Pull your pants up. Don't listen to this rock and roll. It's like every generation, bro. The faster the older heads in the generation catch on and show a little bit of acceptance, that's the guy who's going far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom Brady did get criticized for comments about kids these days. I think we have the clip, but I'm not 100% sure if we have the audio. But the reaction I thought was pretty funny. Mitchell Schwartz quote tweeted. I'll read the quote first because I don't think we have it. But, we do have it. Oh, well. Here it is.
I think the biggest problem with a lot of kids these days, it's all about them. It's all about them, their brand, their social media. And then when it's about me and then not about us, well, there's no way to succeed as a team.
I mean, anytime you're starting a sentence with kids these days or effing kids these days, I'm already like, this is not going to be good. And Mitchell Schwartz quote tweeted it, which I thought was very funny, and said, good thing he didn't start his own clothing, lifestyle, and fitness brand and insist his personal trainer to have privileges in the building that no one else gets.
Damn. But he did have the bona fides when he started doing those things. And I do, when he speaks, I kind of listen because he's the greatest to do it, the most successful to ever do it. And by the way, he's going to do it again. He has absolutely been...
Reject.
He has been laying the groundwork for him to do it again. He would not... Remember when he was in that sandy beach... And he said, I'm not going to make a whole big thing out of this. I'm done. I already did it once. And he actually adhered to it. And he had a great opportunity. He would have probably won that title if he listened to the overtures of the San Francisco 49ers. Imagine how crazy that would be.
I can't do this again.
He's going to do it again because he last year he avoided this conversation. Mike Florio said he did that with purpose by opening the door. He's basically sent a message to the league that if your guy gets hurt, don't lose the number.
My advice to Tom Brady is just say people younger than me sometimes instead of kids these days. Others of a different generation. You can't say kids these days. You can't.
It does make you seem old.
Just never put those words next to each other.
But, I mean, he looks so young and vibrant. And I really hope that he finishes that haircut because that was a tough look from the side.
You guys say that he's a good messenger because he's got the resume that allows him to say things about football with more expertise than just about anybody who's ever done anything at life. But that guy talking to me about how kids only care about their brands, when he somehow managed to both be great and do a lot of caring about his brand. What an amazing run to go through your career at the heights of what we were watching with him. And we don't know what you think about anything because you have been more about brand protection than just about anybody in the history of sport not named Michael Jordan.
He also had brands become a thing later in his career. You don't know how he'd approach it if he were entering the league because kids out of high school, when you're recruiting them, their first questions are about brands these days.
Kids these days. The thing is that Brady sort of sets a template, right? Like by doing that later in his career, it's now all these kids who grew up watching him, or for that matter, he was already in the later part of their career when they were watching football. But all these kids who grew up watching that part of his career see, oh, that's what I can be. I can go be someone with my own brand out there succeeding. And so when you're looking at a generation that is about sort of individuality.
Don't do what I did. I'm extremely rich.
Well,
don't do what I do what I say.
Because he didn't have the option available to him because if he entered the league in this day and age.
And if he did have the option available to him, he probably would have tried to make money off of creating his own brand because that is what a lot of people that age do.
But because he didn't, and because he had the success before he overtly tried to establish a brand that he maintains, he does get to say that, and people of a certain age get to agree with it.
I do think that when taking in the career of Tom Brady, and I want to get back to this roast and what it is Netflix is trying to do and Kevin Hart is trying to do. Kevin Hart hell-bent on being a billionaire. I don't think there's anything more important to him than being a billionaire. So he is doing a lot of work in a lot of different places, hustling, grinding to make sure that he gets there. But when you mention Tom Brady and brand management, I do think it's worth noting as he complains about today's kids that he benefited from the success of be singular in your focus and do not care about brand, yourself, or team for 20 years and then grew really sick and tired of team first on everything. No, I want to bring my trainer and my own scientists in here to help me, and I'd like my own rules because I've seen how much power LeBron has. Why don't I have that much power? I'm more of a champion than LeBron. I'm in a more popular sport than LeBron. Why don't I have as much power as LeBron? Oh, it's because football doesn't allow it. My coach doesn't allow it. My owner doesn't allow it. I've got a relationship with the owner. I go straight to him, and they say, with the Kraft name on it, Tom Brady will retire the way that he wants to, and then he doesn't. And then he gets run out of that organization that is team first to go do whatever it is that he wants, and now looks back on it, success of both brand and team, and says, kids, you can't care too much about it, the brand, when at the end he very badly and clearly wanted his independence.
Jess, did you do a signature eye roll when I ventured that he could possibly come back this season? Don't you want to see that?
I didn't eye roll you, actually.
No, you eye rolled the concept of...
I eye rolled Tom Brady.
Yeah, why?
Because
Dude,
I hate Tom Brady.
Do you
if
realize...
you're not a Patriots fan, you hate Tom Brady. Or I guess if you're Mike. I don't know where that's coming from.
You remember the narrative? You remember the narrative of last season's primetime games? And how they were low scoring and how they were bad. And I pointed to that right there as to a spot where you miss Tom Brady. Because there were about 7 games on the NFL calendar that would have been automatically way more interesting because he would have been at the center of it. And on top of that, he was a pretty damn good player too. And the games would be better. I missed Tom Brady in the sport last year. And if he wants to take some pot shots at the kids and dust himself off and do it at an age that we've never seen before after a year off to teach these kids a lesson himself, I am down for that. How can you not be? And even if he fails, it's still great.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Would you like to see Tom Brady come back? Because I think the answer to that is going to be no from people, and it's because they're not thinking about it enough. I think people are going to answer no to that question. I'm sick of Tom Brady. I don't want any more. You basically, Tom Brady did such an amazing thing in sports where he basically beat the respect out of everybody. He wins at the end, even if it doesn't go off with a championship. We all say, yeah, I hate you because you're too good, which is like the ultimate compliment in sports. I don't know that I can get a better one than that Derek Jeter got some of this. You beat the respect out of me. I hated you, and you shut me up so many times that I had to just eat it. But I would think that people would want to watch him roasted.
Yes,
I believe
100%.
that this is going to be an enormous. First of all, I
don't want to see his friends roast him.
Right. You want to roast
Let
him.
some Jets fans roast him.
Yeah,
let's
his
really get to the heart of this.
His two exes, let them roast him, which they honestly might. That'd be something. That can get the people talking.
Actually, Mike, I watched a roast the other night, a clip of a roast of Alec Baldwin's oldest daughter roasting him, and it was really mean. And I was like, if this is what it's going to be like, I
think Tom's going to have a sense of humor about it, and Peyton can deliver a well-written joke, and I assume Peyton and Eli are going to be all over it, and there's going to be plenty.
Ooh, are they going to talk about FTX?
I imagine so. There's plenty of fodder there
pending
for
litigation, though.
As long as Jeff Ross is there, I'm good.
All right, over under Botox, 5.5 Botox jokes.
Over.
DraftKings.com, baby.
Over and
I was actually going to say, what is the area that you can really hurt him? Like, what's the stuff that he's going to want cut out of there?
Well, his two exes roasting him.
FTXs.
I meant like topics. Like, what jokes are like off limits for Brady?
He's just going to be like, guys, do 3 hours on Deflategate. It won't bother me.
You know what would be killer if
I won that one.
If a joke writer works with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick decides to steal the show and have one final go at Tom Brady.
So, also off limits, Antonio Brown stuff.
And deflated balls. No, there's how many deflated balls jokes?
Those are the ones I feel like are just that doesn't affect him at all. He's just like, that's nothing.
Steve Martin.
Will anybody go after him? Because that is a great sentence. And now let's hear from both of Tom Brady's FTXs, brought to you by cryptocurrency, brought to you by fraud. You guys are questioning whether professional comedians will be as mean to him.
We've talked about it on the show before. Like athletes, they don't want to be made fun of the way that celebrities will allow themselves to be made fun of. But there have been good athlete roasts. I'm not saying that's not the Peyton Manning being one of them. But I hope that I hope that he lets them.
One of the best roasts I ever saw was Norm Macdonald at the top of the ESPYs, and he was never allowed to host the ESPYs again. And nothing like that ever appeared on the ESPYs again, because it was a comfortable gala for athletes. And we remember the look on Ken Griffey's face when Norm Macdonald is making yet more O.J. Simpson jokes about, hey, they can never take your Heisman Trophy away from you unless you kill your wife and a waiter. And everybody's just sort of looking at him, staring uncomfortably. I got to think if you're televising with professional roasters, and the roast master, Jeffrey Ross, is involved with this, it will be unkind. I've never seen one of these roasts not be horribly unkind, and they're always great. I've loved watching roasts since it was like Friars Club shit. I'll stop. Me and my brother used to watch some of these old school 70s and 80s roasts just because it's so much fun to watch Tom Brady talked about that way to his face and have to force a smile through the Botox.
Didn't you get roasted once?
Yeah.
I did, yes.
Was it mean?
Well, the meanest part is they played me off the stage at the end of the night because they had to fill the room with nightclub goers. And so the band is playing me off before I'm finished.
Well,
I've got 10 minutes left of material, and they're just playing music. Yeah, we've got the late night crowd at the Hard Rock trying to get in here to do their drugs.
It's not even part of the roast. They're like, hey, buddy, we got paying customers. Your roast is over.
It was abbreviated because the Sheets and Giggles guy just went well over his time.
Went like a half hour.
There's that, too. The sponsor of the entire event was allowed a very long leash by Jason Jackson, who doesn't mind people being yammerers.
That's going to be Edelman.
He is someone, he sees a yammerer every time he looks in the mirror. And so he appreciates yammering right up until I'm doing it and people got to get into the nightclub. And the band is playing me off. Do you know how hurtful it is to have your roast? The most hurtful thing about your roast being them playing you off at the end?
You know how hurtful it is to see my big dog get played off by the music? I'm like, I don't know.
That will probably not happen to Tom Brady. I got to think, though, if Netflix is going to get into the business of the live stuff, the gather around your television at an appointed time, we're going to go against our entire model of you can watch this when you want, which is what the consumer has demanded so much now that none of us have any time for commercials anymore. Commercials are paying for everything and a tolerance that none of us can abide. And also, I assume the streaming services at some point in the future will force more and more of these commercials on us, whether we want them or not, because of how much the industry is changing. But Netflix doing this with these two people, Kevin Hart and Tom Brady, that is so strategically purposeful from a network that is carrying comedy more than any other network. Comedy right now exists in a couple of spaces, and I'm stunned when I see all of these arenas filled by Andrew Schultz, who hasn't even done a proper special the way other comedians look at specials, because of the two places where comedians are allowed to be most popular now. It's not late night television anymore. It's in this sphere where the Andrew Santinos and Vaughn, I keep forgetting Theo Vaughn, I keep forgetting his name, where they exist, the Joe Rogan comedians, and now, Netflix has been feeding comedy for a long time with specials. This is something that I imagine is going to do a huge number because of who how palatable the two participants are to America, Kevin Hart and Tom Brady.
Yeah, Kevin Hart's done stuff that also has flown under the radar, and audiences have decided, no, maybe a little bit too much. He is out there a lot. He's paid a lot of money by a lot of different platforms, but I think it's going to be successful just because it's really the concept of a roast. These have been pop culture moments in their previous incarnation. You mentioned the Friars Club and Comedy Central. I think this is going to be hugely popular because this is Netflix's first attempt at it, and they're going to get great comedians.
The thing that is another addition to this sort of live comedy element is Netflix is doing a special with John Mulaney coming up as well. They did the Chris Rock live. The Mulaney special seems like it's actually a contained sort of produced special that's going to be live. So they're clearly trying to get into the live comedy space in a way that none of these other networks seem to be doing.
No, they're in the live game. They just brought they bought Monday Night Raw. Yeah. They are players in this game and are building up more and more to go out and get these properties to watch Netflix live. And we just come back to cable television, only it's 7 times the price.
Oh. Shout out capitalism.
Stop showing me commercials on my streaming services.
Right, I'm glad you mentioned commercials. I want to put this in as the worst commercial in the history of all commercials. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren. Please, brothers, pull the plug. I don't even know what they selling.
Chris Cody likes it.
They wouldn't even know that song though. I do like the commercial. Everyone's been complaining about it. I like it.
It's playing too much. It's playing too much.
But that song's way before their time. They would never know that one.